What's up everybody, I'm Jason and welcome to another short video looking at some basic to intermediate configuration and usage tips for the Canon EOS R5. So in this video I want to talk briefly about the image review settings. So you'll find these on the Shoot 7 menu under image review, and there's two options that you can change or that are available for tinkering or tweaking the image review settings. The first option is review duration, and the settings available are off, 2, 4, and 8 seconds, or hold. Review duration controls how long the image review will be displayed until the camera automatically returns to shooting mode after you make an exposure. So if you set this to off, then image review will never be displayed automatically. You'll have to manually review the image through the playback button. If you set it to hold, the camera will never automatically return to the shooting mode unless essentially you turn the camera off, or I believe it goes to sleep. Viewfinder view, the other option, controls whether the image review will be displayed in the viewfinder or if it will only be displayed on the rear LCD. So basically this controls how much the R5 or how much the R5 will behave like a DSLR would. So obviously you can't review an image in a DSLR viewfinder because it's optical. It can only be reviewed on the rear LCD, and that's what this does essentially on the R5. So if you set it to disable and you take a picture, the image, and you're looking through the viewfinder, the review image will show up in the viewfinder. If you set the viewfinder review to disabled, then take a picture. If you have your eye to the camera, the image will not pop up in the viewfinder, and the camera will immediately go back to the live view shooting mode. However, if you take the camera away from your eye just after you've taken a picture, the image review will pop up on the rear LCD and stay for the review duration. Finally, if you're shooting on the rear LCD without using the viewfinder, then the image review will always pop up on that LCD unless you disable it by setting the review duration to off. So my recommendations on this is a whole lot of personal preference. I have my review duration set to 2 seconds. That's how I've had it set for over a decade on Canon cameras. And quite honestly, I haven't found a reason to set it to either longer or to turn it off. However, this is very much a whatever floats your boat, your mileage may vary type situation. So set this how you're most comfortable using the camera. If you use the review a lot and it disappears too fast, you may want to set it to 4 or 8 seconds. If you don't use the review at all, you might want to turn it off. As for viewfinder review, I have disabled it on my camera. I recognize that part of this may be because I'm coming to the EOS R5 from shooting with DSLRs, and so viewfinder review is a very distracting thing for me. I don't want it to pop up. I want the viewfinder to go right back at looking at the world so that I can make another exposure. And I know I can do things to, mitigate that, like half pressing the shutter release or something like that. But the reality is I generally just don't want it to get in my way, so I have it disabled. Additionally, not specifically related to image review, these settings, but just to image review in general on a mirrorless camera, I find that the image review is of less importance, or less, I won't say value, but less importance on a mirrorless camera than compared to what it was on a DSLR. And this is for a couple of reasons. Primarily, it's because mirrorless cameras front load most of the things, or can front load most of the things that I would be checking after the fact in the image review. So, for example, getting exposure compensation right can be very tricky in difficult lighting situations where you have odd contrast or odd lighting. Because a mirrorless camera is essentially a what you see is what you get device, I can dial that in before I ever hit the shutter release. I don't have to make an educated guess at what the exposure compensation should be, then check it after the fact. In fact, with a camera like the EOS R5, or many mirrorless cameras now, there's a live view histogram that even goes further to giving you the kind of information that you would need to dial in an exposure accurately before you make the image in the first place. Likewise, checking to make sure that something was in focus when you shot the picture. On a DSLR, if you're shooting through the viewfinder, you obviously can't magnify what's under the autofocus point. So after the picture was taken, you have to go back and look and see, did the, was the autofocus on? Did I get a sharp image? With a mirrorless camera, you can hit the magnify button on the back of the camera a couple of times, and it zooms into what's under the autofocus point, and you can verify that what's in focus or what you wanted in focus is in fact in focus again before you even make the image. So I hope this helps, or this tip is useful or interesting to you. If it was, please consider smashing that like button and subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.